The purpose of this video is to teach your backyard birds to feed from a suet cake instead of just taking seed from your hand. There are several reasons why we would want to do this. One reason is that if you don't already have downy woodpeckers in your yard, this is their favorite food and will help attract them to the yard. And if you do have downy woodpeckers feeding in your yard, but are having trouble getting them to take seed out of your hand, using a suet cake, which is their preferred food, is by far the easiest way to condition a woodpecker to hand feed. And the major reason why I like to use a suet cake is that the birds will stay in your hand a lot longer when feeding from a suet cake, giving you a lot more hand feeding enjoyment. For example, if you are hand feeding with nuts and sunflower seeds, the birds will usually hop into your hand, grab a seed or nut, and leave fairly quickly. But if you are using a piece of suet in your hand to feed, the birds will usually stay in your hand a lot longer as they eat the suet and peck away at the seeds or nuts embedded in the suet. I have had downy woodpeckers feeding from my hand for as long as 3 minutes before leaving. So, to demonstrate this technique, I will be using downy woodpeckers, but other easy to hand feed birds such as tufted titmice, red-breasted nuthatches, white-breasted nuthatches, and chickadees will also feed on suet. Downy woodpeckers are without a doubt the most consistent feeders in my backyard. They can be seen feeding at numerous times throughout the day, day in and day out. The only exception has been for a brief period of about a month during the nesting season, when you might only see one once or twice during the day. But now in early June, they have returned to feeding on a regular basis, and you can't hardly go 15 or 20 minutes without seeing at least one at the feeder. Downy woodpeckers seem to love suet above anything else, so they tend to stay close to the feeder all year long. Because they are a common feeder bird and are constantly available to hand feed, and because they love suet cakes and thus will be in your hand a long time, for all these reasons, downy woodpeckers have become my favorite bird to hand feed. And by the time you have put this tape to use and have enjoyed the results that this tape will make possible, they will probably become one of your favorite birds to hand feed also.